Hello and welcome. We're Susie and Otto Collins from susieandotto.com. We're relationship coaches, authors, speakers. We're really excited today because we're going to be having a conversation about our favorite subject, which is love, 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 and specifically big fat love. And we're going to be having
And
this.
possibilities.
Oh, yeah.
Expanding your possibilities for big fat love.
Oh, I know. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. That's where a lot of people get hung up is they think, well, this is as good as it gets, or this is what's possible for me. So we're gonna hopefully expand your possibilities a little bit today. We're joined today by our good friend Victoria Green. Victoria, welcome. Tell everybody watching and listening a bit about yourself, the 30-second or 1 minute version as to who you are and what you're up to in the world, and we'll get into the conversation.
Thank you, Otto, and thank you, Susie. Loving being here. I'm a mum of three. I'm a life coach, and I work with educational leaders like teachers, parents, and occasionally teenagers as well who are having difficulty. And I just see a time when everyone has a better understanding of who they are, how they work, and what they're capable of. And I think love is a massive part of that. So I'm pleased to be here. Thank you.
Great.
And
Welcome.
yeah, welcome, welcome. We're glad you're here. And this conversation kind of got started because you actually ran a group about the book Big Fat Love. Can you tell us, how did you come to do that, and what happened? What occurred as a result of running the group? What discoveries were made? I'm really curious.
So I'm happy to share that, but I,
Yeah.
I think there might be a better place to start.
Let's
in
start where you
in
want to start.
Yeah.
in that there was a time, especially coming into the Ultimate Coach community and reading the book and the Facebook group there, where I realized that I I didn't like myself very much,
Mm.
and not only that, when people were talking about loving themselves and liking themselves and following their own um kind of desires and wants, I had no, like, at that time I didn't really have an idea of what that was, and so quickly kind of started tuning into what that might be, and everyone kept talking about um, loving yourself first, and to me that always seemed like a doing, but it was a circular thing. So it was like, okay, um, if I love myself, I'd be doing things for me,
Mm.
and then it was like, well, I'm not doing things for me, and people would say, well, if you love, like, once you love yourself, you will automatically, and I was like, well, I don't love, and I didn't know what that meant, and I was running a book group around money at the time, and there was a point in it when I just realized that everything was a reflection of how much I love myself. So anything on the outside was a reflection of that. And kind of that's when you two turned up, and I was aware of you and the beautiful relationship you've got. I got to experience that in person, and I was aware of the book as well. So that's how the book group came around. I was like, if we're exploring any topic, then alongside it, we need to be exploring big fat love too.
Yeah, I love this because most people most people bypass loving themselves because they want to go outward and they think it's all about the other person because especially in relationships they think, well, if I could only get them to do this. So they're trying to get something instead of starting from the place of being love. And I love what you're saying, Victoria, that it starts with being love towards yourself and with yourself.
So I'm curious, what did you learn from the book about loving yourself?
To begin with, I was reading the book as like gentle invitations and ways to be with myself, be more gentle with myself, not um listen, not pay as much attention to that critical voice. And so um sometimes a book shares how to be with other people, sometimes and I was taking that as ways to be with and for me. But it was still a very much from a place of, when I initially read it, from a place of, these are things I need to do for me, and for the people in my life. And there was a moment, and I can't put my finger on when that was, but when it shifted to, oh, I am love, and all these critical voices or um um doubts or any like overthinking, or these are just, if you like, um alarm bells, signals. Say, hang on a minute, you're talking yourself out of it here, you're blocking yourself from it. And an invitation to take a minute, like pause, do whatever, but to rest back into love.
Mm. That's beautiful. I was coaching a woman at one time, and she was a chronic people pleaser and did not, obviously, she did not love herself. And when she finally saw that, oh, wait a minute, I'm not loving myself here with this person, she got out of that relationship and is much happier and leading a happier life right now. And that's what can really happen. I don't mean you have to get out of your relationship, but you have to stop, just like you said. Pause. Wait a minute. What am I doing here? Am I loving myself at this moment?
Yeah.
And it's either a
A-
yes or no.
and it's funny because then, um so one of the questions for me was like, what does loving yourself look like? What would I be doing if I was
Mhm.
loving myself?
Such a great
Like,
question.
Yeah.
yeah, would it be this? Would it
Hmm.
be that? But there was a shift of like knowing I am love and being able to settle into that, and those questions answer themselves,
Yes.
because then it becomes more well, what am I drawn to, and like what am I drawn to that is beautiful or will allow me to um like enjoy or be in this
Hmm.
feeling for longer, and having or allowing myself to follow that. So to give a specific example, like boundaries with people, like what to say no to and what to say yes to, that was always like, but I love them as well, I love it,
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
always a question mark over that. But when you allow yourself to just settle in that feeling again, um, it becomes obvious. And that may be, actually, I'm really doing this. I'd planned time to do this. I'll happily do that, but it's going to
Mhm.
have to be later.
Mhm.
It just removes the um, uncertainty and the doubt around things, in my experience.
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, and when I hear you say that, one of the things I'm hearing is, and there's a famous quote in the Three Principles communities where Sydney Banks talked about just look toward the feeling. And then what I'm hearing is that you're tuning into the feeling of, what feels good to me here, and not, what feels good to me, what feels bad, what's a yes and what's a no. And when you do that, you're coming from a place of total love. You're coming from a place of total love for yourself, for what's most important. Yeah, I love that.
And if you don't, what I've seen is then you get resentful and you're overgiving, you're saying yes when you mean no, just trying to please somebody else. And when you realize, oh, wait a minute, then you get resentful. And that's not love, and that's not a healthy relationship with yourself or with anybody else. So what you're saying is so true, is pause. Is this a yes or is this a no for me? And be honest.
Yeah, and there are times when, you know, um, it's just got to happen. Maybe it was a prior engagement, like
Mhm.
you said yes at a previous time, and like now it doesn't feel so good. But it all of that to me just feels like this feedback loop. Like a learning for next time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, so just again, to take it back to coaching, and people have systems and create
Mhm.
systems for their days. Um, and I used to struggle with what that should look like for me, and remaining committed to everything, but following that feeling, and that um, being true to yourself, and you feel that, you feel when it's
Mhm.
too busy and you're not
Mhm.
giving yourself enough time to rest back into that, and you start to create your own system and structure that works um, for you, that allows you to be the most present and loving you can be in each moment.
One of the things I've seen is that even in saying yes and even in saying no, there's the question of whether you're still staying open or whether you're shutting down. And what I've seen within me is the opportunity has always been, even if it's a no, how can I still stay in a space of loving? How can I stay
Mhm.
in a space of kindness? How can I stay in this place of giving and tuning into what's a yes for me and what's a no for me? And if it's a yes, how can I stay open and be open? And if it's a no, how can I stay open and be open and continue to, whether it's a yes or a no, I still care about this person. I still love this person. I still want to do this or I don't, but I still stay open no matter what.
And that's where the possibilities come in.
Yeah.
Because we think, okay, if I say no, that's it. No. But what you're talking about is staying open to a possibility of something else happening, Well, and like you said, Victoria, I can't do it now, but I might be able to do it next week. But it's not so automatic, a yes or a no. There are other possibilities that can happen, and opening, like you said, opening
Yeah.
to that, I think is really loving yourself, at least in my life.
Have you seen that as well, Victoria?
Yeah, I feel like they're synonymous. Like to be loving is to be open,
Yeah.
and and so to share another example, to be in a conversation where you don't agree with what another person is saying, or you don't see it as they do, to be in that conversation and be loving is to still be open and listening. And I love what you pointed to, like new possibilities, because it's been my experience that there can be disagreement and something can still be created from that when you are remaining open and loving. That so something can be created, something can still be agreed to, even when you are seeing things differently.
I've heard that referred to many, many years ago as a third alternative. As so, if I ask Susie for as an example, how do you see this situation? And if it's different than me, and she asks me, well, how do you see this situation? And we see it differently, then we can then from that place in that space, if there's a continuation of openness and love, then we can look for, well, how can we both have the understanding and the way of seeing the situation the way we do, and what else might be possible to actually look for that third alternative that might serve both of us really well and might even be even better than what either of us had thought of previously.
Where do we agree?
Yeah. We've called this in the past the overlap. You know, if there's two giant circles, you know, there's what she thinks, what she feels, her idea, then there's the circle. Then we find the overlap. And that's where the possibilities get expanded, is focusing on that place where the overlap is. Not that I'm trying to change her or change another person I might be in conversation with, but where's the overlap? Where's that space where, you know, we do see things in similar ways, and how can we expand that?
And it really comes around to, who am I being in this moment? Am I being love and open, or am I being, okay, it's my way, I got it right, I know the best way, Otto.
Yeah.
You know, who am I being in this moment? And if we keep that foremost in our minds, like yesterday where I was out walking, taking my walk, and there was a young man sitting there on the curb. And I thought, in our neighborhood, there's usually no young man sitting on the curb. And I just stopped and talked with him.
Hmm.
And he asked me, "What are you listening to?" And I told him, and then we had a lovely chat about vibration. And he'd never really thought about vibration. And I, at that moment, I was being open and loving and just meeting this strange young man.
Instead of, what are you doing in our neighborhood?
Yeah, which I mean, I wouldn't have come on quite like that, but I would have ignored him and walked around him a few years ago until I really saw, okay, who am I being in this moment? Am I being love, or am I being fear or
Judgmental.
Oh yeah, judgment.
Yeah.
You know, there are uh, opportunities for connection and conversation everywhere.
Mhm.
Um, and I used to remember a time. There was a time when I was really anxious, like socially,
Mm.
so much so that I used to dread the school run. You know, dropping the girls off and picking them home, because I never knew what to say. I'd constantly be thinking, well, if they speak to me, what do I say? And what do I say if they don't say anything back? Um, and when you are being loving, just in life, being love,
Mhm.
um all those questions like drop away,
Mhm.
because you don't need to plan what to um what to say when you're being loved. Like you talked about, if two people don't agree and you look for the third way, and and possibly that is an option that comes from it, a third way. um but it feels like there will what is said, what is done, and what makes sense to do and say will just occur naturally,
Mhm.
um in that space. And it's so it might occur to um talk to the gentleman in the street, um and that conversation may go in so many different places than it would have, had you just turned up, um consumed with thoughts of your day, not
Mhm.
not necessarily fearful, but um not in such a loving way. So I love that there's in every moment and every second, with every interaction and every circumstance we come across, that we never know where love is going to take us.
Mhm.
No, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Victoria, we love being with you. We love spending time with you, and we loved having this conversation. We could talk with you for hours and hours,
And we can do it again.
and we can do it again, of course. For folks that feel connected in some way to you just from this brief conversation, tell people how they can connect with you, if you would, or if they'd like to connect, the best way to find you.
You can find me on Facebook, Victoria Green, or can email me at vjcoach100@gmail.com. So always
Wonderful.
happy to answer questions on
Yeah.
love.
Yeah. And as you know, we're Susie and Otto Collins. You can find us, of course, on Facebook, but our website, susieandotto.com. And of course, we have our podcast on most platforms, which is the Love Made Easy podcast. You can check that out. We've got tons of episodes that are all about big fat love and love made easy. So, with that, thanks so much for listening and for tuning in. And you have a great day.